Under the sharp California sun, the world sparkled with curated perfection. Palm trees swayed lazily above manicured sidewalks, Teslas and Ferraris glided by, and tourists in designer sunglasses posed with iced lattes for selfies under the famous Beverly Hills sign. In the midst of this gleaming display of wealth and curated beauty, she sat alone, motionless at the edge of the Beverly Hills Hotel driveway. A German Shepherd puppy, no more than 5 months old, small enough to still be gangly, too large to be mistaken for anything but a working breed. Her fur was a delicate blend of creamy tan and a darker saddle across her back, brushed and almost too clean to be living on the street. But she wasn't dirty, just scared. She trembled, not with cold, but with something deeper. Her ears twitched at every sudden noise, the slam of a car door, the burst of laughter from passing pedestrians. But she didn't move. She didn't bark. She didn't whine. She sat still like someone had told her to wait and never came back. People passed her like she was a fixture, a novelty. Some slowed down, not out of concern, but to take photos, as if she were part of the set, a cute prop in their curated feed. She sat just far enough from the hotel entrance to seem like a coincidence, just close enough to suggest she might be waiting for someone inside. That's when I saw her. I had been walking back from a freelance shoot along Sunset Boulevard, my camera tucked away in a size side bag. I do docu-style storytelling, mostly on people living in the margins, unsheltered families, forgotten veterans, displaced youth. I wasn't planning to film anything that day. I wasn't even planning to stop, just grabbing coffee before heading back to my Airbnb. But something about her, it hit differently. She wasn't begging. She wasn't wandering. She wasn't even searching. She was waiting. I stopped a few feet away, crouched slowly, careful not to spook her. She didn't growl, didn't run. Her eyes met mine and held, not with fear, but with something worse. Disappointment. As if she'd already decided I would walk away like everyone else had. Around her neck was a bright pink collar, crisp and intact, not the kind that came from a shelter. Tied to the collar was a small piece of crumpled notepad paper, secured with a cheap brown hair tie. I leaned closer, letting her see my hands. I didn't want to reach without permission. She didn't flinch, she just watched. I read the note. Her name is Luna. She's too emotional. I can't deal with her anymore. That was it. No contact info, no attempt at rehoming, just a final decision scribbled in a shaky hand, probably female. The word emotional had been underlined. I looked up and around. No leash, no bag, no one calling her name. Just the distant hum of traffic and the occasional click of heels on the pavement. She'd been left there like luggage, like trash, like something once loved and now inconvenient. I whispered, "Hey girl, you hungry?" No reaction. She kept her head low, front paws curled inward, ears half flattened. I followed her gaze across the street to a McDonald's. I went in and bought a plain hamburger. No onions, no sauce, just meat and bread. Something simple, something warm. I returned to her spot and knelt again, placing the wrapped burger gently near her paws. She didn't move at first, just inhaled slowly. The scent seemed to tug at some forgotten instinct. She lifted her head an inch, eyes narrowing. Then she looked at me again, this time closer, more curious than afraid. Her body moved in cautious, trembling lines, shoulders hunched low, belly nearly grazing the ground as she crawled forward. One paw, then another. She sniffed the burger, fast and deliberate. Then took a bite, then stopped. She looked up, waited. When I didn't move, didn't reach, didn't flinch, she finished the whole thing in a few seconds. Then and only then her ears lifted. Not fully, but just enough to say maybe. I sat cross-legged on the sidewalk beside her. Cars passed. People stared. One woman snapped a picture and asked, "Is she yours?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know. She wasn't mine, but she didn't seem to be anyone's either. A minute later, she scooted closer, just an inch, just enough to rest her chin near my shoe. Her body still curled inwards like she was bracing for something, but she didn't move away. That was the moment I knew. I couldn't leave her. Not here, not like this. Not in this city where things that don't glitter get discarded. But where do you take a German Shepherd puppy who's already been given up on? I stood slowly, reached toward her, careful again. She didn't resist. I wrapped my arms around her small, trembling frame. She was lighter than I expected. Not skin and bone, but hollow. Like she'd been waiting too long to be chosen. And no one ever did. As I lifted her, She tucked her head into my chest. Like she'd done it before. Like she knew what it meant to be carried by someone who wouldn't look her in the eye. The girl at the McDonald's drive-thru window leaned out as I passed. "She's adorable. Is she okay?" I didn't know how to answer. I nodded. We crossed the street, back toward my rental. A white Nissan sedan I'd picked up 2 days earlier. I opened the back door and gently placed her inside. She stayed curled in the same position, tail tucked, legs drawn close, eyes wide open and locked on the ceiling. I sat in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel. Not driving. Not yet. Just staring. I had no leash, no crate, no food, no plan, and I wasn't even supposed to have a pet in my Airbnb. But there she was. A tiny German Shepherd puppy with a pink collar and a broken heart, and something inside me whispered, "Don't leave her." Not again. I drove with one hand on the wheel and the other resting lightly near the back seat, as if my presence could reach her through the air. Luna didn't make a sound. Her body stayed curled into the corner, barely moving, barely blinking. Every so often, her eyes flicked to the window like she was checking for escape routes. But mostly, she stared upward, frozen, detached, as if still unsure whether this was a rescue or just another transition to nowhere. The streets blurred past in soft afternoon light. West Hollywood boutiques, cafes with sidewalk seating, and even a dog spa with a crystal chandelier twinkling behind a glass storefront. I couldn't help but feel the weight of it all, the absurdity of this city, where dogs could get massages and facial scrubs, while one like Luna had been left on a sidewalk like unwanted luggage. When we reached the back alley of the guest house I was renting, I parked and opened the back door. Luna didn't move, her eyes locked onto mine, not pleading, not trusting, just watching, like she was calculating the next step of survival. "Come on, Luna," I said softly, as if saying her name might unlock something. "It's safe now." Nothing. I crouched beside the car door, letting her see my body language, calm, open, patient. When she still didn't budge, I reached in slowly. She flinched hard but didn't growl or bite. I scooped her up again, careful to support her chest and back legs. She stayed limp in my arms, not in surrender, but in practiced compliance, like she had learned early on that stillness was safer than resistance. Inside, I placed her gently on the cool tile of the kitchen floor. She stood for a brief second, legs stiff, tail tucked, ears low. Then she collapsed into a corner near the refrigerator, folding herself into the smallest shape possible. She didn't explore, didn't sniff, didn't cry, just watched. I filled a mixing bowl with water and slid it toward her. No response. I offered a corner of the burger I had saved, still warm in a crumpled paper wrapper. She sniffed it, then turned away. Her eyes didn't leave mine. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just fear. This was grief. She hadn't simply been abandoned. She'd been broken. Discarded, not just physically, but emotionally. Like someone had peeled off every layer of trust she was born with and told her it was too much. I sat on the floor, my back against the cabinet. I didn't speak, didn't look at her directly. I just stayed close, present. When I was 10, my family had a German Shepherd named Bruno. He was my shadow, my protector, my best friend. He'd sleep outside my bedroom door every night, and whenever I was sad, he'd nuzzle my hand until I smiled. When he passed, I was wrecked. I swore I'd never get another dog again, not because I didn't want one, but because I couldn't risk loving that deeply again. Couldn't risk that kind of pain. But sitting here, with Luna curled in a corner like a broken statue, I felt something stir. An ache I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. I didn't touch her, didn't call her name. I just waited. Minutes passed, then an hour. The light through the blinds shifted across the floor in golden slats. Eventually, Luna's head lowered to her paws. Her eyes closed halfway, not asleep, not at peace, but not in full guard anymore. Just a quiet beginning. That night, she didn't make a single sound. No whining, no scratching at the door, just silence. I checked on her at least a dozen times. Each time I found her in the exact same position, curled tighter and tighter, like she was trying to vanish into herself. By morning, I hadn't slept much. I walked into the kitchen barefoot, the tile cold under my heels. Luna was awake, eyes wide, body still. She hadn't moved from her spot. I knelt down, slid the water bowl an inch closer. This time she sniffed it, then licked once, then again. Small steps. Encouraged, I tried food again, torn pieces of toast, a corner of banana, even a spoonful of peanut butter. She turned away from all of it. Only when I pulled out a piece of grilled chicken from the fridge, plain, unseasoned, did I see a flicker of interest. I broke off a chunk and held it out with open fingers. She crept forward inches at a time and took it from me, delicately, gently, never breaking eye contact. That felt like something, like the first brick in a bridge between us. I stepped outside to call a few rescue contacts. My friend Rachel was first. She worked with a local shelter. I texted her, found a puppy in Beverly Hills, GSD. Note said she's too emotional. She replied instantly, shelters are full, try social, but act fast. Puppies get scooped up quick. But Luna didn't feel like a post and pray situation. She wasn't just a cute photo. She was a story someone tried to end too early. I stared through the kitchen window at her, still curled by the fridge. German Shepherd puppies were smart, too smart. They learned patterns fast. She was already learning what the world expected of her. Be quiet, be still, be nothing. And that couldn't be the lesson she carried forward. I opened my laptop and typed, pet supply store near me. A small shop off Melrose came up, with decent reviews and open early. I threw on a hoodie and gathered what little cash I had in my bag. I didn't have a plan, but I had to start somewhere. Back inside, Luna hadn't moved. I approached slowly, crouched, and reached out my arms. She flinched, again, but didn't resist. I carried her out like before, her body tucked into me like a question. At the pet store, the automatic door's beep sent her body into rigid alarm. The clang of shopping carts, barking from the back grooming area, it was too much. I scooped her up again, holding her close. Whispered, "You're okay, I got you." A woman exiting with a golden retriever smiled at us. "New rescue?" "Something like that," I murmured. Inside, I let Luna sniff around. She ignored most toys until we passed a clearance bin. There, half buried beneath some torn packaging, was a small grey elephant plush. Luna's nose twitched. She pawed at it once. I bought it. At the register, the clerk offered her a treat. She didn't take it, but she didn't flinch either. Progress. Back at the house, Luna took the elephant into her corner and curled around it like it was a sibling. Something familiar. Something hers. I sat beside her again on the floor and opened my laptop. Found a German Shepherd puppy abandoned in Beverly Hills. Needs a foster or home. She's not broken, just scared. Her name is Luna. I posted it to 3 local groups, added a single photo, Luna curled around the elephant, eyes barely visible. Within 20 minutes it had 40 likes, a few DMs, but I didn't answer them. Not yet, because something in me didn't want her to go. And the worst part, I think she knew. That night, the sky outside turned a soft grey, and by midnight, rain began to fall. Not the kind of storm that makes you rush for cover, but of gentle drizzle that settles into the city like a sigh. The kind of rain Los Angeles only offers when it forgets it's supposed to be all sunshine and palm trees. I listened to it from the kitchen, standing barefoot near the sink, while Luna stayed curled in her corner, her elephant tucked under one paw. She didn't flinch at the thunder. She didn't move when I walked back in after a hot shower, but her eyes tracked me now, following every step, not alert but aware. There was presence in her gaze now, less fog, more focus. I laid a blanket down near her corner, sat beside it, cross-legged, quiet. I didn't talk. I didn't offer food. I just scrolled through the messages pouring in from the post. People were responding fast, too fast. Photos of other dogs, smiling families. We'd love to meet her. She'd be perfect with our kids. Is she housebroken? A young couple in Santa Monica, a single mom in Burbank. One guy who bragged about his big backyard and added, "I don't want drama, though." I closed the laptop, turned to Luna. She hadn't blinked. I whispered, "Do you want to go somewhere new?" She didn't move. I leaned my head back against the cabinet. Me neither. At some point, I must have drifted off. My back still against the kitchen wall, blanket pulled over my knees. The city hummed in the background, occasional traffic, the ping of water droplets on metal outside. I woke to something I hadn't expected. Soft breathing, close. When I opened my eyes, I found Luna pressed against my leg. Not completely. Her head was still on the floor, body mostly turned away, but she had moved. Deliberately, toward me. It was the first time she'd made contact. I didn't speak, didn't reach. I just breathed and she stayed. Around 6 a.m., the kitchen filled with a pale wash of morning light. I stood up slowly, careful not to startle her, and moved to boil water for coffee. As soon as I shifted, Luna darted back to her corner, fast, silent. But she didn't hide. She kept watching. Later that morning, I decided to take a chance. I opened the back door. The backyard was tiny, barely a patch of grass, fenced in behind the guest house with a single folding chair and some cracked pavers. Not much, but safe. I stepped outside, then turned to look over my shoulder. Luna hadn't followed. She stood at the threshold, just behind the open door, ears up, tail still. She didn't move. So I grabbed her elephant, sat in the grass, wiggled the toy in my hand, then tossed it gently, just past the doorway. She stared at it, then at me. Her paw moved, then the other. 2 minutes later she was outside, nose to the ground, tail low but swaying, almost like she was trying to remember how. She rolled once, just once. A flash of puppy, legs kicking, back to the grass, a snort of air through her nose. And then she looked at me, like she'd been caught. I laughed, couldn't help it. She stared for a moment, eyes wide, then trotted back to the door, elephant in her mouth. A German Shepherd puppy, left like a piece of luggage in the richest zip code in California, had just played for the first time since someone decided she was too much. I knelt and whispered, "That's your yard now." And for the first time she wagged her tail. Just once, but it was enough. By noon the rain had lifted, sun burned through the clouds like it had something to prove. Heat returned to the sidewalks in waves. I opened the door again, half expecting Luna to hesitate. Instead she trotted out ahead of me. No leash, no coaxing, just movement, purposeful. Her little grey elephant toy dangled from her mouth as she marched into the grass like she'd always owned it. I followed, stunned. She dropped the toy, circled it once, then flopped belly first onto the grass and let out a long exhale. Not a whimper, a real sigh. The kind that says, "This spot, yeah, this is mine." That was when I knew she was changing. German Shepherd puppies are made for connection. They're not just smart, they're loyal, devoted, built to bond. And now, finally, she was letting herself try. I pulled out my phone and captured 5 seconds of her lying in the sun, her eyes half closed. Her ears relaxed, that little elephant under her paw. I captioned it, "Luna, from abandoned to homebound, found at Beverly Hills Hotel." The post went up at 3:12 p.m. By 3:32, it had 12,000 views. By 4, it was at 48,000. And by nightfall, over 130,000. Comments flooded in. "That face. Bless you for saving her. Is she adoptable? This broke me. But that tail wag healed me. But one message stopped me cold. A DM. Short. No profile picture. No introduction. That's my dog. Just that. No name. No apology. No explanation." I froze. Looked across the room at Luna. She was pawing lazily at her elephant, tail flicking in the sunlight, completely unaware of the message sitting in my inbox. I didn't reply. Instead, I packed some water, her toy, and clipped on a makeshift leash I'd bought earlier that day. We took a walk, just around the corner. Nothing far. There's a little green patch across from a luxury gym, where the sidewalk always smells faintly of eucalyptus and espresso. I sat on a low stone wall, Luna beside me, her body relaxed but alert. She flinched at every sound, a skateboard, a garbage truck, but she didn't bolt. She stayed close. Her leash stayed loose. A man came out of Starbucks with a frappuccino in one hand. He spotted her and smiled. "She yours?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, for now." He crouched down, holding out a hand. "She's beautiful," he said. "German Shepherd puppy," I told him. 5 months, maybe less. Luna leaned forward slowly, sniffed, then gently, almost imperceptibly, she licked his fingers. I watched her. Trust was growing. Not fast, not all at once, but at the edges, quietly. When we got home, she was tired. The walk had drained her. She curled up on the rug near my desk, nose tucked against the elephant. Later that evening, I checked the message again. "That's my dog." Still no follow-up. No new messages. My heart pounded in my chest. I stared at the words, then down at Luna. She was softly snoring, one paw twitching, like she was chasing something in a dream. And I realized something terrifying. I was already hers. The next morning, everything was wrong. I woke up to silence. Not the soft breathing by the rug, not the familiar click of claws on tile. Just quiet. Too quiet. The kind that squeezes your chest before your brain has even figured out why. I swung my legs off the bed and looked toward the kitchen. Empty. The rug where Luna had slept was undisturbed. The door to the backyard was slightly open, just enough to let in a sliver of cool morning air. A knot formed in my stomach before I even stood up. I'd forgotten to latch the gate. The night before, after taking out the trash, I'd been tired, distracted. I must have left it unhooked. I called her name once, then again. Nothing. Barefoot, I ran outside. The yard was still damp from dew. The watering can had been knocked over, its contents spilled across the pavers. Her elephant lay just inside the door, alone. "Luna!" I shouted, panic rising. No bark, no tail, no trace. I sprinted down the alley, ignoring the stones that jabbed into my feet. Past the neighbour's SUV, across the intersection. My mind raced through possibilities. Had someone taken her? Had she wandered into traffic? What if she was hurt, or worse, terrified and alone again? She had trusted me, and I had let her down. I turned onto a residential street, the sounds of Beverly Hills already humming to life. Delivery trucks rumbling, joggers passing with earbuds in, gardeners trimming hedges like art installations. The world moved as if nothing had changed, but everything had. My phone was already in my hand. I pulled up her photo, the one from yesterday, her curled around the elephant, soft eyes watching. I stepped into the corner cafe, heart hammering. "Have you seen this puppy?" I asked the barista. She frowned. "Sorry." Same response at the gym across the street. And the flower shop. Panic sharpened into something brittle. I imagined her, confused, wandering, searching for the sound of a voice she didn't yet know she could trust. Then 2 blocks down, I saw her. She was sitting beneath a tall ficus tree, her back pressed gently against the legs of an older woman in a pale linen coat. Her tail was low, ears half up, as the woman talked to her in soft, slow tones. I called out just once, "Luna!" Her head snapped toward me, and in an instant she was running, ears back, legs stretched, all awkward puppy energy. I dropped to my knees and opened my arms. She crashed into me like a wave, her body wriggling, tail flailing, paws pushing against my chest. I buried my face in her fur and held her tight. "I thought I lost you," I whispered. The woman approached, smiling. "She was just sitting there when I stepped outside," she said. No barking, no panic, like she was waiting for someone. I nodded, unable to speak. My throat ached with the effort of holding it together. "She's a sweetheart," the woman added, reaching down to scratch Luna's ear. "German Shepherd puppies are loyal like that. If she picked you, she'll always come back." I carried her home. This time, she didn't fight it. She pressed into me like she belonged there. Inside, she walked straight to her toy, curled around it again, and let out that same tiny sigh. But something was different. This wasn't the sigh of retreat. This was relief. That afternoon, I made a decision. No more maybes. No more waiting to see if someone would claim her. No more pretending I hadn't already made up my mind. I pulled up the website for the West LA vet and booked the first available appointment. 10:45 a.m. the next morning. She watched me from her corner as I clicked the last confirmation button, head tilted, ears halfway up, like she knew something was happening. "Tomorrow," I told her softly, "we make it official." That night, she didn't curl up in the kitchen. She didn't retreat to the corner. She laid down on the rug beside my bed. I didn't call her there. She just did it. And when I turned off the lights, I heard it again. Her exhale, that slow, steady breath that had become our signal. Safe. Home. Ours. The next morning I clipped on her new rose gold leash and opened the car door. She jumped in. No hesitation. No trembling. Just trust. At the clinic, she sat between my legs in the waiting room. The air smelled like antiseptic and nervous fur. Other dogs barked behind closed doors. Luna flinched once, then leaned against my shin. I placed a hand on her back. "You're okay," I whispered. "I got you." A woman in scrubs knelt down. "Is this Luna?" "Yeah," I said. "German Shepherd puppy, 5 months. Found her in Beverly Hills." She nodded, her eyes soft. "She's beautiful." In the exam room, the vet, Dr. Patel, moved slow, gentle. No sudden gestures. Luna trembled but didn't bolt. She let them check her paws, ears, belly. "She's healthy," Dr. Patel said. "No microchip, no injuries, but she's definitely been through something. She flinches when hands move too fast." I nodded. "Someone wrote that she was too emotional, like it's a flaw." Dr. Patel paused. "German Shepherd puppies feel everything. That's not a flaw. That's what makes them incredible." They gave her a wellness shot. Luna didn't yelp. She looked at me instead. "Is this okay?" Her eyes seemed to ask. I smiled. "Yeah, you're okay." When we stepped back outside, she shook herself off like she was done being a patient. We walked toward the car, sunlight warming the sidewalk. A little girl walking past pointed and said, "Mommy, that dog looks like a princess." Luna turned at the voice, her ears perked, and for the first time, she smiled. Not just with her mouth, with her whole face. That afternoon we went to a pet shop on Fairfax. I picked up a small silver ID tag. One word, Luna. I clipped it to her collar. She wore it like it had always belonged there. And me? I realized I wasn't saving her. I was just finally catching up. Later that week, I pulled my camera out of its case for the first time since Luna had entered my life. It had sat untouched on the shelf, collecting dust while I let deadlines pass and emails pile up. For once, nothing felt more important than watching her sleep beside my desk, her nose buried in that battered grey elephant. But something told me it was time. I set up the tripod in the backyard during golden hour, the lights soft, the shadows long. Luna followed me outside, her movements confident now. She plopped down in her favourite sunspot, flopped belly first into the grass, and rested her head on the elephant, as if she knew exactly what we were doing. I hit record. "Her name's Luna," I said, voice low, gaze steady on the lens. I found her at the gates of the Beverly Hills Hotel, just sitting there with a note that said she was too emotional. The camera didn't blink. Neither did she. "She's not broken," I continued. "She just needed time, someone to wait with her." That night, I edited the footage into a 1-minute short. Clean cuts, no narration, just soft piano under the sounds of her being herself, blinking into the camera, licking peanut butter off a spoon, chasing a leaf through sunlight. I posted it under the title, "The Puppy in Beverly Hills, A Second Chance." By morning, it had 12,000 views. By noon, 48,000. By night, over 130,000. The comments were overwhelming. "This made me cry. Thank you for showing us this. That note broke me. That tail wag healed me." But one comment lodged itself in my throat. "I didn't know I needed this today. I haven't left the house in 2 weeks." Luna gave me a reason to smile. I stared at the screen, heart heavy and full all at once. Luna lay asleep at my feet, her paws twitching, a soft snore rumbling from her chest. She didn't know what she had done. She wasn't trying to be a hero. She was just surviving. And somehow, that was enough. Later that evening, I received a call from a non-profit I'd never heard of. They'd seen the video. Their mission was to pair rescue animals with therapy programs, for veterans, for trauma survivors, for people who needed soft moments more than strong ones. "Have you ever considered registering Luna as an emotional support companion?" the woman asked. I looked down at her, she looked back, and I said yes. Because maybe this wasn't just a rescue story. Maybe it was something bigger. The evaluation took place at a community centre near Westwood. Quiet, modest, surrounded by garden courtyards and old wooden benches. A woman named Carla greeted us outside. Mid-50s, short salt and pepper hair, kind eyes, and the kind of voice dogs instantly trust. Luna pressed against my leg the moment we entered the garden, her tail low, ears halfway back. Carla didn't force it. She offered a treat, palm open, no eye contact. She let Luna sniff her shoes. She moved slow, with intention. "She's observant," Carla said, crouching down beside us. "That's classic German Shepherd, smart, cautious, deeply tuned in." We moved through a short test, sudden sounds, a wheelchair rolling by, a walker scraping the pavement. Luna flinched once, but didn't run. She looked up at me instead, searching my face for direction. "She checks in with you," Carla smiled. "That's trust. That's everything." Inside, we walked past volunteers, staff, and a man in a hospital bed positioned near the hallway. He waved as we passed. Luna paused. She wagged her tail gently, then approached him. No barking, no fear. She sniffed his fingers, then gave a single soft lick. His eyes filled with tears. "Been a long time since I smiled like that," he whispered. That's when I knew she was ready. Maybe not perfect, but ready to heal something bigger than herself. On the way home, Luna curled up in the passenger seat instead of the back. She kept glancing at me, like she could tell my thoughts were spiraling, fast, tangled. "You're incredible," I said softly. She didn't react, just placed her head on the armrest, eyes closing as the wind slipped through the cracked window. That night I got another message, same account as before, the one that had said, "That's my dog." Now it said, "I saw the video. That's Luna. I left her. I shouldn't have. But I can't take her back. No name, no photo, just those words. Strangely, I felt peace, not anger, not fear, just closure. A door gently closing on something that had been left open too long. I walked into the living room. Luna lifted her head. The tag on her collar chimed softly against the floor. I sat beside her, pulled her into my lap. Her warm weight settled against me. "She's not coming back," I whispered. Luna blinked slowly. "And you're not going anywhere." I didn't know if she understood the words, but she leaned into me. And for the first time, I leaned back. A few days later, we were invited to an event called Pause for Peace, a weekend gathering for veterans, first responders and survivors, held at a quiet park near Griffith Observatory. Open fields, folding chairs in neat rows, kids darting between booths with painted faces and paper flags. I assumed we'd stay on the sidelines, observe, chat quietly with a few handlers. But the moment we stepped into the grass, Luna's posture changed. Alert, but calm. She walked taller, slower, like she recognized something in the air, grief masked as celebration. A man in a worn marine jacket sat near the fence, his young son gripping the side of his wheelchair, knuckles pale with tension. Luna walked straight to them. I didn't guide her. She just went. The boy looked up, then smiled. The kind of smile that starts small, then spills across the face like sunrise. The Marine gave me a nod. "She yours?" "Yeah," I said, "sort of." "She's beautiful. German Shepherd puppy. 5 months. Her name's Luna." He looked away for a second, then back. "My unit had a shepherd, saved 3 lives. She didn't make it home." We sat there together for a long time, saying nothing. Luna rested her head on the boy's shoe. He didn't move. Later, one of the event coordinators passed by and whispered, "She's doing the work already." That afternoon, they asked if Luna would take part in the ceremonial walk, a lap around the park honouring animals in service. I hesitated. Crowds, noise, applause. I looked at her. She looked back, ready. When our turn came, she walked beside me, head high, tag jingling, eyes steady. She didn't flinch, not at the flags, not at the cameras. She walked like she'd always belonged. And me, I felt something sharp burn in my throat. I wasn't the type to cry in public, but she turned, met my eyes, and I broke. Because I realized something I hadn't dared to say out loud. I hadn't rescued her. She had rescued me. We didn't go back to the hotel where I found her. Not yet. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe she wasn't either. Instead, we started walking new streets, quieter ones, neighborhoods with low fences and chalk drawings on the sidewalks. Kids on scooters zipped past us and Luna walked beside me, leash loose, head high, no flinching at passing cars, no freezing on corners, just steady steps like she'd always belonged in the world. At night she slept soundly. No pacing, no circling, just quiet breathing and one worn-out elephant tucked beneath her paw. That toy was barely holding together, its seams stretched, its ears half chewed. I'd considered replacing it. But I couldn't. It was a piece of her story. And some stories aren't meant to be erased, only carried. One morning I left the bedroom door open. She climbed onto the foot of the bed, curled like a comma. Small, intentional, just enough to feel present without taking space. I didn't move her. That same day we visited the VA center near Culver City. Not for an event, just to sit. To be there. One of the therapists who had seen Luna's video had reached out asking if we'd visit a small trauma group. Veterans, PTSD survivors, people who didn't want to talk but needed to feel something real. I brought Luna in on a short leash. She paused at the threshold, nose twitching. She scanned the room. Then she walked slowly, deliberately, to a man sitting alone near the window. He didn't acknowledge her, didn't look at her. She sat in front of him, waited, then gently pressed her head into his knee. He didn't move. For 10 minutes they stayed that way. No words, no motion, just stillness and tears. Afterwards, one of the staff pulled me aside. "She has something rare," she said. "She doesn't force it, she invites it." That night, Luna and I sat on the back steps of the guest house. The sky above West Hollywood was dulled with haze, the kind that dims the stars without covering them completely. Luna rested her head on my knee while I sipped tea, her body warm against mine. "You did good today," I whispered. She didn't lift her head, just sighed. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the laminated badge they'd given us at the center, her name printed in bold letters beside a small blue paw print. Luna. Certified Emotional Support Companion. I clipped it to her collar. She looked at me, blinked once, then placed her paw gently on my leg. That was her answer. No fanfare, no dramatic music, just a puppy who had learned how to stay. Some stories don't end, they become part of who you are. Luna was never supposed to be mine. She was supposed to be someone else's dream, someone else's love, but that someone walked away. And somehow, through all the fear and silence and broken trust, she chose me instead. Her journey, from abandonment to healing, wasn't just about recovery. It was a reminder of why non-profit rescue groups matter. Why people who stop and care, who say not today, change everything. Without them, stories like Luna's would never get a second chapter. Without them, dogs like her would stay invisible. Caring for a rescue dog isn't just about love. It's about presence. It's waking up at 3 a.m. because they had a nightmare. It's sitting on the floor with them when they don't want to play. It's choosing them again and again, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's hard. And maybe if we listen close enough, they rescue us too. Sometimes in small ways, sometimes in quiet ones. A tail thump on the floor when you walk in the room, the way they lean into you when the world feels too loud, the sigh they give when they know, deep down, they are finally safe. A few days later, we were invited back to the community centre. Not for evaluation, not for training, just to visit. One of the regulars, an elderly woman with arthritis and a long history of silence, had requested us by name. When we arrived, Luna walked straight to her, rested her head on the woman's lap. Didn't ask for anything, just stayed. The woman began to cry. Later she whispered to the staff, "I haven't touched another living thing in years." That night I rewatched the first video I'd ever made of Luna. Her blinking into the lens, her nose twitching in the grass, her grey elephant tucked close. I didn't edit it again, didn't add new footage, because the point wasn't to show how far she'd come, it was to remember where we started, and to remind myself that healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent, soft, a choice made in small, brave moments. One morning, I took her back to the edge of the Beverly Hills Hotel, not for a photo, not for closure, just to stand there, to see if the past still had a grip on her. She didn't freeze, didn't cower. She sniffed the air, looked up at me, then walked on, just like that, as if to say, that's not where I live anymore, and neither do you. So if this story moved you, if Luna's quiet strength touched something in you, please share it. Not for me, not even for her, but for the next puppy sitting on a curb somewhere, wondering if someone will stop. Because stories like hers don't just matter. They save lives. They remind us to look again, to pause, to see, to say, not today. To say, I've got you. Join our Brave Paws family. Be their voice. Be their hope. And remember, sometimes it only takes one person stopping long enough to care for everything to change.